They laughed at her. Not quietly. Not behind her back. They laughed at her in the open. In the middle of Fuke village. A woman who once rejected over 100 men stood frozen. While a boy young enough to be her son mocked her love. That was the day Achalugo's pride broke. But this is not where her story started. This is how Achalugo's wala started. Abeg, sit well, because this is one of those stories that will make you say, life no dey smile twice. In a quiet but popular Yoruba settlement known as Fuke village, there lived a woman whose name alone carried weight, Adaku. But Adaku no too like her name again. She had given herself another name. A name she preferred people to call her by. She called herself Achalugo. Now if you ask her what Achalugo means, she would toss her head, smile proudly, and say, "It means princess." And Abeg, look at me well, don't I look like one? And truly, at that time, nobody could argue. Adaku was in her early 30s then, brown-skinned, tall, well-shaped, with eyes that sparkled like palm oil under morning sun. Her skin was smooth, her steps confident, and her presence loud even when she said nothing. Whenever she stepped out of her mud brick house into the village square, heads would turn. Some men swallowed hard. Some women hissed quietly. Some children whispered. That was Achalugo for you. She dressed better than most women in Fuke village, flowing Ankara gowns, neatly tied head wraps, coral beads on her neck, and slippers that made soft sounds as she walked, announcing her arrival before she even spoke. But with beauty came pride. Big pride. The kind that brings wala later. You see, in Fuke village, marriage was not a joke. By the time a woman reached her late 20s, aunties would start visiting. Elders would start advising. Mothers would start praying. But Achalugo. Oh. She laughed. Marriage cool, she would say, waving her hand. Abeg, make una leave that talk. I cannot just marry anybody. Anybody. That word alone broke many hearts. Suitors came. Many of them. Some came with their parents. Some came alone. Some sent elders to speak on their behalf. They came with palm wine, kola nuts, yams, goats, respect. But Achalugo rejected them all. One was a hardworking farmer, she said he smelled of soil. Another was a trader, she said his pockets were too small. Another was a carpenter, she said his hands were rough. Is that the kind of man a princess like me will marry? She would ask loudly, ensuring everyone heard. Oh. Soon, the village people started counting. 10 proposals. 20. 50. 100. More than 100 men tried their luck, and all were sent away with shame. Her friends began to fall in love, marry, and carry babies on their backs. Women she used to gossip with now had husbands calling them from afar, children running into their arms. But Achalugo. She remained single and proud. If my Odogu has not arrived, I will wait, she declared. Odogu only. A rich man. A big man. A man that matches my level. But time no dey here grammar. Slowly, quietly, without announcement, time started doing its work. Her skin no longer shone the same way. The tight glow on her face softened. Small lines appeared when she frowned. Her waist was no longer as firm as before. At first, Achalugo ignored it. Abeg, aging is normal, she said. But beauty like mine, it no dey fade. But men started looking elsewhere. The greetings reduced. The stares stopped. The whispers changed tone. Soon, Achalugo noticed something painful. When she walked into the village square, nobody stood up again. Walla Point one evening, she stood alone, watching her age mates laugh with their children as their husbands returned from farms. And for the first time, a strange silence wrapped around her heart. But still, pride refused to bow. Marriage is not food, she muttered. I will not settle. My people, if you think pride is sweet, Abeg sit down well. Because this is the part where life begins to answer Achalugo back. By the time Adaku clocked 40, Fuke village had changed, and so had she. The mirror no longer lied to her. Those smooth cheeks she used to admire. They had lost their tightness. The glow she once carried like royalty. It now struggled to show itself even under powder. Her waist that once turned heads. Or it had begun to tell its own story. But the real pain was not her body. It was silence. Suitors had stopped coming completely. Not one. Not two. None. Even the men she once rejected no longer greeted her properly. Some avoided her. Some greeted her out of pity. Some laughed behind her back. Achalugo, they whispered mockingly. Princess without palace. Chai. At first, she pretended not to care. Abeg, I don't need a man to survive, she said loudly one afternoon at the market. But her voice shook, and the women noticed. The market women had no mercy. One of them laughed and said, Achalugo, how far? Still waiting for Odogu. The others burst into laughter. Voila! That night, Adaku cried for the first time in years. She cried quietly so nobody would hear. She cried into her wrapper. She cried until sleep carried her away. Morning came, but nothing changed. Children now mocked her openly. Old Auntie Achalugo. Princess without husband. Each word cut like knife. Her friends avoided her. Not because they hated her, but because her bitterness had grown. Every conversation turned sour. Every smile she saw annoyed her spirit. When women complained about their husbands, she snapped. At least you have one. Soon, she was alone, truly alone. Then came the worst humiliation. One evening, during a village festival, a young man, young enough to be her son, tried to flirt with her as a joke. Achalugo, I fit marry you now, he laughed. The crowd laughed. Adaku stood frozen. That was the day her pride cracked. That night, she sat under the moonlight and whispered, God, did I make a mistake? But time does not answer immediately. Days turned into weeks. Weeks into months. Then sickness came. Not a deadly sickness, but weakness. Her knees ached. Her back complained. Loneliness pressed heavier than sickness. She tried lowering her standards. She smiled more. She greeted men warmly. She even hinted interest. But men only nodded respectfully. The door had closed. One evening, she overheard village elders talking. If only she had listened earlier, one said. Time no dey forgive pride, another replied. Those words followed her home like spirits. For the first time, Achalugo removed her beads and placed them on the floor. She stared at them long and hard. Princess indeed, she whispered bitterly. And that was when regret finally sat beside her. My people, Abeg listen well. Because this is where the story teaches its lesson. By the time Adaku fully accepted that time had passed her by, Fuke village already saw her differently. No more Achalugo. No more princess. Just Adaku. She woke up every morning now with a heaviness in her chest, the kind that no food can cure. The village that once echoed her laughter now greeted her with silence. One morning, something unexpected happened. A man came to her compound. Not a young man. Not an Odogu, not a rich trader. He was old. Older than her. Bent slightly. Quiet. His name was Bamedil, the widower who had lost his wife many seasons ago. A man she once rejected openly, years back, when her beauty was loud and her pride louder. He stood at her gate respectfully. Adaku, he said gently, I came to greet you. She froze. Of all people, him. They sat together. Silence filled the space between them like thick smoke. Finally, he spoke. I know I am not what you wanted before, he said calmly. But I saw you standing alone these days. And I remembered you. Adaku's heart sank. For the first time in her life, no pride rose to defend her. She wanted to shout. She wanted to reject him again. But her mouth refused. Tears filled her eyes. Bamedil, she whispered, do you still see value in me? The man sighed. Value does not disappear with age, he replied. But pride can hide it. That sentence broke her. She wept openly, no wrapper to hide her face, no strength to pretend. Villagers passing by stopped and watched quietly. That day, Adaku finally understood. Not every delay is destiny. Some delays are self-inflicted. Bamedil did not force her. He stood up respectfully. Think about it, he said. I will not beg. Days passed. For the first time in her life, Adaku begged God instead of men. She apologized, not with words, but with tears. When she finally went to Bamedil's house, she did not go as Achalugo. She went as a woman asking for mercy. They married quietly. No drums. No crowd. No celebration. But peace entered her heart. Though she never had children, she became a pillar to many, teaching young girls, warning them gently. Abeg, don't joke with time. And that, my people, is the story of Achalugo. A princess who crowned herself. But learned too late that life crowns nobody twice. My people. Life no dey wait for anybody. Beauty no be promise. Pride no be protection. Achalugo waited for perfection. But time answered her with reality. Abeg, learn from this story. Don't let pride delay your destiny. Don't let, I still have time, turn into regret. If this story touched your heart, like this video, share it with someone who needs this lesson. And drop your thoughts in the comments. We want to hear your own experience. And Abeg, subscribe for more African folktales that speak truth. Because stories like this are meant to be heard. Time no dey crown anybody twice.